Now, given the size of the political problems between Nyesom Wike and Sim Fubara in Rivers State, problems that have now widened and has virtually everyone in the state taking sides, it was always going to be a delicate piece, wasn't it? And there are so many unanswered questions that are at the heart of that peace accord brokered by President Tinubu. Can the lawmakers who defected still legally hold office without a fresh election? How much was the president inextricably linked with Mr. Wike in putting together that one-sided agreement? And if he wasn't, why didn't he instruct Mr. Wike to come up with something less unconstitutional and potentially less controversial? And why didn't Governor Fubara himself make it clear that he was not only an executive governor with all the powers that come with it, and therefore would not be pushed around, but that he's also from the PDP, an opposition political party that is completely separate from the president's ruling APC party, and as such should not be instructed to do anything?
I was there, so I'm a witness. So what I say is primary, not secondary. We are invited for a meeting, but that was not a meeting, because a meeting means opinion will be sought. There will be discussion between both parties and resolutions will be reached. But that is not what happened. What happened is that Mr. President walked in with a written resolution, addressed us, and declared that what he has in his hand is a presidential proclamation, a presidential directive, and at the point withdraw and emphasize the fact that he is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Therefore, he can whip. And anybody who tends to say no to what he's saying, it has consequence. That is not democratic. That, in a simple layman word, is a threat. He wrote the resolution, but refused to read the resolution. Handed the resolution to Dr. Odeli to read and interject. And each time he interjects, it comes with a subtle, polite, smiling insult. And thereafter, he asked the governor to speak. Now let's get it very clear. If you are in the position of the governor, what will you do? Get up and go? Say no to Mr. President with that kind of subtle but energetic threat? But one of us asked him a simple question. And to be specific, Adoke Amasimaka Hassan. Same should do this. Governor should do this. Governor should do that. You have not said, watch those 25 or 27 assembly members that defected from PDP to APC without consulting their constituency and constituent what they should do. And of course, you can see the situation. The president's reaction was very clear and simple, but very, very dangerous. It was a concrete intimidation to say he's a leader. In fact, he withdrew on his seat and said, I'm the leader of the APC in Nigeria. And you are telling me that when babies are born into my family, I should ask them to go. No, they can't go. We are welcome them. And I want anybody who was there to contradict what they have said.
Well, it's an extraordinary revelation, isn't it? We were going to cross to Port Harcourt and speak to the lawyer Chris Itamunola, who's a former senior special assistant on intergovernmental affairs to former Governor Nyesom Wike. But we're told that it's raining heavily in Port Harcourt, and that's affecting the signal. So as soon as things calm down, we hopefully will go down there and get his side of the events that have been taking place in Rivers State. But to help us unravel the many difficult legal and political issues that surround that peace accord, I'm joined now in the studio by the lawyer, legal scholar, and coordinator at the YIAGA Africa Center for Legislative Engagements, Dr. Samuel Oguche, who's also a research fellow at the National Assembly in Abuja. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
First of all, just take us through that agreement and where you see it running contrary to the law and the Constitution.
Yes, if you look at the architecture of what's happening in Rivers State, it tells you that there are many forces at play. If you look at the legal dimension, defection itself is a constitutional matter. If you look at Section 109 of the Constitution, it's one of the reasons that will lead to vacancy in the seat of a legislator. Now, but if you read the Constitution carefully, there's a proviso. Say, provided it's not as a result of a division in the political party under which that particular legislator was elected. These legislators are saying that, from what I read, that there is a crisis in the PDP and that they fulfill the requirements, constitutional requirements, before they defected. The question now is if or whether they have legally defected. In law, there are certain facts that need not be proved. Facts admitted is one. They've admitted that they've defected, so there's no controversy.
And the party from which they defected has accepted their defection.
Their defection.
I mean, publicly.
Yes. Now, the question now is, are there still legislators? Is a matter that is subject to judicial interpretation. And as it is now, the matter is in court. And if it is in court, it's not something that we will be in a hurry to start talking about with vigor, with energy. But just a few things around it. In the history of defections in Nigeria, especially in the Fourth Republic, there are two dimensions to defection. Defecting from an opposition party to a ruling party, and defection from a ruling party to an opposition party. Why the former leads to celebrations, party, in quotes. The latter is visited by threats, vacation of seats and all those things. But in the case of Rivers, there are several, I can say, illegality upon another illegality. In the sense that there are 32 members of the assembly, 27 defected. You are left with 5. Under Section 96 of the Constitution, for a state assembly to be able to do anything whatsoever, it must form a quorum. And that quorum is put there as 1/3 of the members of that assembly. Now, 32. For you to have 1/3 to satisfy the constitutional requirements, it means you should have no less than 10 members in that assembly. No less than 10.
Yeah, that's to form a quorum.
To form a quorum.
Yeah.
Now, there have been budget issues, legislative businesses going on. Despite the call that these people have vacated their seats, INEC should conduct election. But that also has been a subject of judicial order that INEC should take action. Now, the question is, can the state legally transact any legislative business with 5 legislators? Because if you look at the authority of Dapialon and Dari from Plateau State, the courts have held that where the Constitution says 1/3 to 1/3 or whatsoever of the members of the assembly, it is not of those that are present. It's the entire membership, which is 32.
Yeah, but just focusing specifically on that agreement.
Yes.
And trying to get your legal knowledge of what the implications are that are contained in it. That agreement says that all court cases should be withdrawn. So the case that you're talking about that is in court, technically, if people follow the agreement, then it will be withdrawn. But the question, the legal question remains, the legal and constitutional question, whether you withdraw the case or not. Is there a legal position that is very clear that if you do A, the consequence is B? You see what I mean?
Yes, okay. Now let's take it from whether or not the president even, the agreement is even constitutional, is even right. I've read views where people are saying, no, the president has no business going to broker peace and all those things. But citing the former, the old case of Akintola, and I beg to disagree that what we had during the Akintola era was a parliamentary system of government with autonomous regions. What we have now is a presidential system where the president has enormous power. Why do you think the president should sit and watch crisis unfold? He will be silly to watch.
No. I don't think anybody is questioning the fact that he interviewed. Okay,
I'm coming to that.
Right. Now, we haven't got all the time in the world, so I need to get
look at it from this angle. All pending court cases be withdrawn. Is that a binding agreement? Judicial powers are vested in the courts. We have the constitution that gives rights to every Nigerian to seek redress. So any agreement that seeks to maybe truncate the judicial process, to me, cannot be binding. Cannot be binding.
Because so whether or not he signed it,
whether or not
the governor Fubara and all the rest of it, the point that you're making is that gives him an opt-out clause.
Yes.
To say that it can't be legally binding.
Even if he signs it.
Right.
Can any person sue him for breach of an agreement that he signed not to go to court and he went to court? No. Because there is no binding agreement by saying I won't go to court or I will come back. If I come back, I go again. Then if you are talking of agreements, you look at the legality of the issues. The issues here are constitutional matters. You and I cannot agree to truncate a constitutional process.
But are you surprised at the president? I mean, because what I don't understand is that there doesn't seem to be, I mean, you have to wonder whether there was no sense from anyone there at that meeting of the damage that was being done to the constitutional order in this country by that agreement. I mean, surely there would have been some lawyers in attendance there. I believe the president's chief of staff, who's a lawyer, Bajabiamila, was also there. I mean, does that sort of surprise you that nobody said, well,
no.
You can't actually do
I'm
this?
not surprised, because this is a political solution. You have legal issues.
Yeah, but it's a political solution that dovetails into a legal area.
That is what I'm trying to link them up.
Right, okay.
Now, I have my right to approach the courts. But if I agree not to approach the court, there is nothing illegal about it. If I have this right to exercise, and I decide not to.
No, I'm not talking about that. I understand what you mean in that regard. You know, it's your right whether you want to go to court or not. But what about the things that are, as you said, constitutional illegalities?
Yes,
the fact that you talk about restoring the position and the allowances and all the rest of it of the lawmakers. I mean, wouldn't that have been obvious that there's something that has to be settled by the courts?
Yes, it has to be settled by the courts. But as I said, we have had instances where people, in fact, it is part of the judicial process that people, even if the matter is in court, they can still go and settle out of court. So if...
But in the case of the lawmakers, that's what I'm talking about. You can't settle out of court, can you? I mean, if they've defected from one party to the other, the law is clear.
Do you know what is happening? It is because this particular constitutional provision has been observed more in the breach.
Right.
Because there have been defections. Recently, somebody defected from YPP or so to the APC. Others, many...
And retained their seats. Right.
So it is something that started from the top. Governors, ministers, we have records of defections and nothing happened. So it is this presumption of continuance.
Yeah, but
it happened before, it's happening again.
But even if even if the governor, for example, Governor Fubara, says, okay, I'm not going to proceed with the case. In other words, that I won't go to court to challenge these people's continued presence in the House of Assembly. I mean, the PDP can go to court, can't it, to challenge their...
Yes, the PDP can go. But we even have the issue of local standing. Is it the governor that should be going to court, or the House of Assembly. Because in terms of declaration of vacancy, it's a legislative matter. Legislature is a distinct arm of government. So that is a different
I'm not sure it's the governor who's going to court anyway
but
about
if they
that.
go, the PDP can go to court. That you took our mandate, you are taken to another party. But if they now agree now not to go, the courts, the powers of the courts are only activated where the actual thing, the right thing is done by activating the powers of the courts.
Right.
That is by constituting or instituting an action as required by law. If you don't go that way, the courts cannot on their own make any pronouncement. So if parties that are supposed to go to court now decide not to, by whatever reason.
Like, for example, the other instances that you mentioned, where they failed to challenge those people who defected but kept their seats.
Yes.
I mean, the court wouldn't on its own come out and say, well, you can't do this. So if it's not challenged, then the person retains their seat.
It retains seats. That is why we say, in this part of the world, we watch things go without being challenged. And that has become a norm. Now, this is another issue. I tell you that this matter we are saying is a constitutional matter. There are constitutional breaches. Although the courts are there to make a determination, as the matters are before the courts. But many things go unchecked because people don't, go against them.
Right.
That is the issue. Okay. So by the time Nigerians, those that actually have the local standing, go to court, challenge those things, then the courts will be able to make pronouncements. And as it is now, the matter, there are litigations here and there. Right. And we are expecting that, look, whether it is PDP, because the PDP has local standing, then the remaining members of the assembly, because we have two factions now.
Those other factions can go to court.
Go to court.
Okay. We'll have to watch and see. Dr. Samuel Oguche, I want to thank you very much indeed. Really good talking with you. He is a lawyer, legal scholar, and coordinator at the YIAGA Africa Center for Legislative Engagement. Thank you very much indeed.